Now let's turn and look at the full screen device, in particular this tablet form factor. I'd like to ask Bert Keely to talk to us about the work his group is doing in this area.
Hi, Bill. Thanks. So .NET services are going to help information flow to all sorts of devices, and the smartphone, Microsoft smartphone software in particular, is going to really enable a whole class. But there's another class of device that we think is going to be wildly popular. And this is a device that combines the visual qualities of a magazine with the handiness of a paper notebook and all the power of a PC. So what we're going to get to talk about today, and show today actually, is the actual first demonstration of what Microsoft calls our vision for the tablet PC. Okay, can you see this display? And within the next year or two, you're going to see Microsoft's partners bringing out hardware like this. This is actually prototype hardware running real software, including real Windows 2000. Okay? I'm going to put this on the camera so that you can get a little bit closer look. So one thing about a tablet PC is we've looked at electronic books, and you've probably heard a lot about electronic books lately. They are a type of content that really demands a better device. And I want to zoom in on this. First of all, I'll show you that turning pages on this device is really as simple as turning pages in a book. Boy, there's a lot of glare in here. So we're going to need to dim some house lights. So whatever lights are right directly on this device are causing us a lot of trouble that we... There we go. Oh, maybe I leaned my elbow on it. Sorry about that. It's not the prototype. It's the real product here. Okay, so we have nothing but a book page here, and the way we turn pages is nice and very simple. I want to zoom in and I want to show you something about the software, and this is what we call ClearType. When we talk about having the quality of paper, can you believe how paper-like those fonts look? I'll zoom back out a little bit. You know, the way we see it, devices, all device attempts in this class have failed to recognize the need to match paper. And so we're going to show some things here today that are .NET UI constructs that actually match the interactivity of paper. So this is an electronic book, and I can read along and see a character. Here's Baker, a character that's introduced at this point. In order to highlight that, remind myself of when the character was introduced, it's simply a matter of highlighting, tapping, and it's done. I can place a bookmark just as simply. Oh, and I can look up a word in as simple a matter as tap on the word, tap on lookup. I see definitions for stretching, etc. A third tap, and I'm back reading with no visual artifacts, no clutter. So these are the kinds of qualities of paper that we really think that a tablet PC should be able to have. Now, one of my colleagues is a fellow named Chuck Thacker, and he's also obsessed with this tablet PC idea. And his obsession goes all the way back to the mid-70s when at Xerox PARC he worked with a fellow named Alan Kay, and they worked on a Dynabook concept. Chuck is on our team, and he suggested to me I really ought to have a subscription to Slate magazine, and it gives me an opportunity to show you some .NET services that support this paper-like experience. So as I'm reading, I can go to a bookstore and look. This is integrated browsing, integrated in a way that doesn't show me stock quotes and email messages and banner ads and all these other news feeds and things. I asked to see books, to see book sites, and so I get a list of sites that can provide titles to the Microsoft Reader. So one of those sites is the Slate subscription site. I can say, yes, go ahead and download Slate. And I get a message, the download's complete and it's in my library. So I'll just go over to my library and take a look, and here it is. It showed up as the last one acquired. Now, how do we make a book buying purchase so simple? Well, there are a few .NET services behind this, one of which, of course, is the integrated browsing. But the second is Passport, which manages all of the transaction aspects so that the purchase can be as simple as tapping and then watching the download occur. The third thing is a new service called a digital asset service, which actually does digital rights management for me. In fact, it's individualizing a personalized copy of this book and downloading it into my library. And it actually has my name on the title page of the book. I know it's mine, I know it's authentic, and I know I can read it on any of my devices. So now reading books is not all we want to be able to do on a tablet PC, right? Of course, we're going to want to check our email. And to do that, we're going to want to use Real Outlook. At least some of us are. So here's a message from Butler Lampson. He says he's got an attachment. I need to be able to open attachments, don't I? So I open this message, open the attachment, and it's a document. I recognize it. It's Charlton's interactive paper document. It's very nice and concise. But I would like to make some comments here. I think that if he could use .NET more in his discussion, he'd be following the corporate theme a lot better. So now do I have to actually go get a keyboard in order to make comments on this document? I shouldn't have to. I should be able to simply make marks on the page. So one of the .NET services we're talking about here is the retrieval. We're talking about iPaper as a brand. We probably could do better than iPaper. We're talking about .NET UI constructs here. So I just want to be able to mark with my pen, put a little margin note, and I've done my markup. That's simple. Now, one thing else I'd really like to be able to do, and I'd love to be able to do this with paper, is just insert some space and write a little bit more. Corporate tie-in. Did you notice that when I inserted the space, the annotations hung together? That was because they're smart enough to move as the underlying document changes. So when we can do things like this, I can be sure that when Butler receives this back, it'll all make good sense. So that's a great way of using ink in a way that works much more like paper. Now, something that I haven't been able to show you yet is the way that ink can be interactive. So to do that, let's pretend that I'm in the audience and I've taken these handwritten notes about Forum 2000 and I've done a few sketches, and I want to be able to work with these notes. For example, I really thought that smartphone was cool. I ought to be able to just select ink like I would text and highlight it. I can do that with handwritten ink in a tablet PC. I could apply bold, italicize, underline, etc. There's all sorts of things we can do with handwritten ink. In fact, if I want to take a look at my notes in a much broader way, I can switch my paper to College Rule and see all of that ink shrink down and reflow just as if it were text. So I'll zoom back in to give you a little bit better look. And I can also, it's very easy to manipulate drawings with a pen. So we've got the tablet into the picture here. We're starting to develop a story, and I want to check and see whether the theme of .NET is coming together well. So to do that, I'd like to be able to take the word .NET and just search for instances in my story. So let's see what we find. Now, do you see what's going on here? It's searching my handwritten ink and recognizing where I've used those words, even though we haven't converted my view to text. That's because handwriting recognition is going on in the background. So we work with my ink, and we see lots of instances of .NET. It looks like it's coming together pretty well. Okay. So one last thing. Of course, I've got to have a headline for my story. And so I've got a few attempts at headlines here. I'm not very good at this, but if I want to see these headlines as text, it should be just as simple as saying, recognize that and see them as text. Now, that's because the handwriting recognition can go on in the background, but it doesn't need to get in the way of using the system, of using the handwritten ink. Only when you want to see the recognized text do you need to do that. Okay, so that's a quick view of the kinds of things we see a tablet PC doing. And I hope you all are as excited about having one of these as I am.
Great.
Stay tuned. Thanks, man.
Thank you. Well, I'm certainly excited about getting one of those devices. There's really an amazing amount we'll be able to do with note-taking and sharing information and the whole structure of a meeting. You know, the way that you have handouts in meetings, and you never know, whether to keep those around or if you want to change something and share that with other people in the meeting. So both note-taking and the process of meeting will be brought into a digital world. And we'll have breakthrough software that's part of Microsoft Office that deals with those scenarios, which are completely new to the world of the PC. A key point there is that was a full-powered PC. That was not just a companion limited device. That was a Windows 2000 device that ran all the existing applications and the new ones that take advantage of that platform.